Welcome again to the channel. My name is Busiso Spencer Khatebe, and thank you very much again for joining the journey of personal development. It's been really a journey, to be quite honest, and loading these videos. I'm not loading them in the pace I would like to load them, but I always want to load something when there's a bit of quality that I need to speak about or dive into, essentially, about whatever it is that we're going to talk about. And it's really just been a journey. It has not been something that I have seen to only work for me, but it is also something that I've seen to work for others. But it is almost selfish because the things I talk about are the things that I'm thinking about and really doing introspective work about my life and what it is that I want to do and what it is that I want to achieve pertaining to that. And so it's really just amazing that we've gotten to this milestone of about 7 videos in, strictly talking about personal development and looking at marketing concepts that are existing so that it can be easy to understand and be easy to relate to of what we already know. Um, Today I'll be talking about something just a bit different, not really tying into concepts as we have been doing in the past videos, but it is really something that has moved me, so to speak, and wanting me to just speak about. And what I want to talk about today is the concept of surviving or survival versus thrive or thriving. Now, when we speak about surviving and thriving, automatically our minds take us to a place of what we define to be survival versus what do we define as thriving, right? Yes, it does, especially for me. We obviously know what is to survive, and just a few points is to survive is to just remain alive, is just to exist in your space, is just to be there, to continue to function. So wherever you are, whatever environment, and when I speak about wherever you are, I mean physically, emotionally, even spiritually, with where you are. How are you looking at your world? How is it that you define your state of where you are? Are you just a person that is just getting by? That's just existing, and that's where your state of existence is. So survival being there to continue to function and to also endure and to live through an affliction, adversity, and misery, and etc. That's just survival. Now, without in any way disrespecting other people, many people define their own survival modes in different ways. Some are staying in them because of the actual term to survive. And it is quite blurry and a bit dim to see beyond the ability to move from survival to thriving based on the situation or circumstance that they find themselves in. Some people are ill, some people are have mental illness, some people are having financial difficulties, some people are having, emotional traumas and etc. that enable them to get into a space in their lives to just choose one of the other. It is crazy that even brands know that. Brands know that what product to bring about that aligns to certain things. So how they position the brands is this gonna be from a survival point of view? So however we promote it, market it, price it, it all speaks to that concept of survival because we know some people can't live without this, and that is why we can approach it in this way. And that's how they do it. And therefore, their survival approach is to mitigate or meet what people might be going through at that point in time. So we can't necessarily, to an extent, downplay or trod rather what somebody decides to be. But I think in light of personal branding and where I would like us to be, or any individual to be, is to understand and fully accept the position that they are in, but not also at the same time not take away the position where they would like to be, which is very, very much important. And that's what we're going to be touching base on today, as I've already started speaking on survival. So, what is to thrive? To thrive is to grow, is to develop vigorously. So, now the operative word being vigorously, it is not just growing. If I leave a plant, there are self-growing plants or that we come across, either weeds or whatever you do or not do, it will grow inevitably until it gets to the stage where it dries up and is, fully grown in the way that it has. But when you're saying you want to grow vigorously, there's a sense of intention that is thriving. If you are in the state that you're in your life, and you realize that, what, I've been stagnant, I've been dormant, and there hasn't been anything about me that has led me to pull in growth, intentional, vigorous growth. Then there's something about that either tells you or should tell you where your state of mind is, or what is it that you need to do. So those are one of the definitions of thriving, growing vigorously, and to flourish, to progress towards realizing your goal in spite or despite or because of your circumstances. So, thriving is not conditional to the best solution or the best circumstance. It is about the mindset and the desire to be where you want to be, no matter what the cost is. I mean, we've heard stories of people growing up from, shacks or informal settlements in South Africa, housing informal settlements, but who have managed to, or villages or rural areas, who have studied and are now today successful because their drive, their intention, their goal was forever to thrive. And whether they become successful actuarial scientists, CEOs of companies and investechs and etc., or different places, it is because their story, their actual brand story, is saying, I am not going to allow the state of mode of wherever I might be, being survival, to determine my future prospects of what it is that I can be. And that's where a person shifts their mind towards thriving. And that is what we need to talk about. And so, one of the questions, we'll get to the questions just a bit later as to what is it that we want to focus on. But we did say that I also got some, I want to reference Miraka Academy, also found in LinkedIn, who talks about the two different ends of survive and thriving. But some of the things that have been mentioned, some of the things that have been mentioned is that surviving means to continue to live or exist, while thrive is defined as to grow and develop and to prosper and to flourish. Essentially, what we have also touched on and spoken about. But surviving means simply to just get by. It's where you may be able to meet your basic needs, but to struggle to achieve your goals or feel fulfilled. So a lot of people have capsulated themselves to a survival mode that they can't see themselves coming out of that. You know, when people in their survival mode, in fact, some people rejoice when they see other people in survival mode. They feel that them thriving is somehow intimidating to what it is and where they are. So you realize that in life, there are people who have a survival mindset, which is fair to them in and of itself, we all have an aspect of that in our own lives where you're like, if I just get by, it's okay. But what is dangerous about that is that you're so fixated in survival that you almost neglect yourself or the ability to see yourself in a thriving mode, that it leads to self-pity. It leads to lack of contentment, and and a lack of satisfaction or fulfillment in your own life. Because in as much as you might be in that state, you keep looking outside as to why are people doing well and etc. But in this talk, it's really just to speak about to say that ultimately your desire to thrive is really just about you. What is it that in the position that you are in, you can make yourself thrive? It is to no coincidence that the people who are, which I admired most, like I just do, and um, in terms of township economy, that they're not waiting for huge fundings. Some people have heard stories with our government giving people 350s who have developed businesses out of that, which they are, yes, maybe in the survival mode to get their basic needs. But the mindset to just shift a bit to say, you know what, in as much as I might be unemployed and in the States, I am not neglecting myself to put myself in the position to just thrive and let this business known. And then through social media, everybody sees it, everybody enjoys, reposts, and therefore it becomes, an avalanche of a growing um, snowballing, so to speak, that becomes bigger and bigger as people get to experience it. Whilst thriving, on the other hand, is that it involves actively pursuing our goals, experiencing a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in our lives. So, are you just looking at that you know what, you are really intentional about what it is that you want to do about your life? You want to, if you have a goal set, I want a 2 million rand house, I want to have a holiday 2 times a year, I want an overseas trip, I want to have children and let them go to the best schools available. I want to build my parents a house. I want to buy my parents a car. I want to get married. I want to finish the book that I've just started. I want to go back to school and do well and advance my career. I want to get a side hustle. Whatever it is that you have set out for yourself, it's really just in your hands. That is it. And what that does for you is that it pushes you slowly out of the survival mode and leads you to believe that you can thrive. I read a story today about a lady who had lung disease, and when she heard about this, she was caught in the middle of thinking, what do I do now? My husband and I had planned a trip, and because of this lung disease, should I just focus on my health, survival mode, and see it through and, keep managing my life in the way that it is until I get better? Then only can I make decisions. But inversely, she, with great caution, of course, ultimately still changed her mind to say, you know what, I'm going to live my best. I'm going to live the best that I can, and that is powerful in and of itself. In fact, Les Brown, one of my favorite motivational speakers, is that he says um, that if you were told you had 90 days to live, or he mentions that a several times, like if you were told, well, if when he did the survey, that people were told that you have 90 days to live, what would you do? And a high response to that was that I would quit my job. Why? Because though your job is the means to the end of your survival, but it is not the means to the end of your thriving. Thriving in people's definition could be family. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to see them more often. I want to pick my kids from school. I want to have more time in my hands, not to just be lazy and not do anything, but to be able to be positioned in such a way that I can balance my life out in the best way possible. And that's what comes out of that. That's where we are as people. We want more than what we actually are getting or giving. And so, just to continue this, is that when we want to do this, is that some people, or most, which I've also found myself in this mode, where a lot of our backgrounds have enabled us to be either limited or limiting in the way we see the world. or how we perceive the world. And some are notably good because at the time we believe in, what, this is a level of, if you're a good kid, didn't mess up, we didn't, cause trouble to the parents, you lived in that survival mode, but you never were able to risk in and of itself, not to be a delinquent, but to see life much broadly. As a matter of fact, then when you create your survival mode to being a perfectionist in everything, when you see something totally out of perfectionism, you really, it's either a threat, or rather it becomes something that you judge people on, or sometimes we may quantify to holiness, if you may, that if anything outside of holiness, we, or perfectionism, because that's the survival mode, we downtrodden people and others, but we never place it as an opportunity for growth and for us to understand what it is that we need to do related to a situation that a person could have found themselves in. And so that's also critical to look at too, and really understand that. So in all of the talks that we've spoken about, is that maybe answer these questions for yourself. Number one, what do you need to survive if you are whatever state you are in your life? Do you need to grow? If you need to grow, have you identified it, or you just okay with where you are? Thirdly, what will thriving look like to you? And a lot of people now, I keep saying this every video, that we are so taken off to understand what thriving is because of social media. But somehow we do know that some people curate what we need to see, and they stretch themselves to just shift from the ideal survival into thriving so that they can be seen the way they want to be seen and not see themselves in the way that is in a survival state, if you may. So what does thriving look like to you? And how can you use your circumstance to progress towards your goal and not letting that stop you in your life? So please look into these things, and I think it's very critical for us to be honest with ourselves, understand that we are just people trying to make the best situation of what we have. And the more we can really answer these questions, we can't beat ourselves too much or too hard, because we're just trying to make do with what we can. And we can make do with what we can, and then progress to a thriving mode where we're not fully in our mental illnesses and depressed states of why is your life not in the way that it is, because you have somehow allowed people to define it to be the way it is, or you have allowed yourself to tell yourself the lies for so long that the truth doesn't penetrate through. And whereas the truth is in and of itself a revelation, an unbinder, it sets you free. It makes you realize that, you know what, maybe I'm just not in the great state. And you're coming to terms with that helps you become a better person, helps you do more, helps you to thrive, and leaving a survival state of your existence because you want to see yourself a better person, you want to see yourself a great person. And that is what essentially is needed in our walk, in our journey, in our progress, in our desires to become the best people that we can, so that we can do so in the best way possible. So it is a mindset shift. It is about purpose. And the more we get that right, friends, I promise it might not be easy. It's very difficult to shift from where we are to where we want to be because of how life just is. But it is possible. God is there, and look around you. There are sources of people to enable you to move from there and not be stuck, man, in survival mode all the time. Not be stuck, but be vigorously intentional about what you want to change in your life. That all love, um, all appreciation. Please like and subscribe. Share this video with people who you think need it. I know I needed it. Um, and so it will help, it'll matter a great deal when we do the things that always helps other people. All love. Cheers to the next one.